Hello, this is an overview of the Agent Lifecycle Toolkit, or ALTK for short. This is an open source project out of IBM Research, which is a toolkit of plug-and-play framework-agnostic components that are designed to boost agent performance. So what is the Agent Lifecycle Toolkit? Well, as agents become more mature and complex, the kinds of problems that pop up also become more complex. So for example, an agent may see silent errors, tool calls may be completely malformed, the routing that the agent performs may be incorrect, and so on. So what the Agent Lifecycle Toolkit, or the ALTK for short, provides are a bunch of plug-and-play components for your agent, kind of regardless of framework. And then these components address key problems so your agent can be more robust and mature. Our toolkit is organized around the agent lifecycle, so most agents will follow this general pattern, including but not limited to the popular React-style agent, where a user will first send a request, and then an agent will call an LLM and attempt to reason about this request, and then act upon that reasoning and call a tool. And then it'll do this reasoning and act steps in a loop until it finally reaches a final response. So what you see in the blue boxes here are touch points. So touch points in the agent lifecycle where we can integrate components from the ALTK. So more specifically, after the user request, we can then examine it and modify it if necessary in this post request stage. Similarly, we can check before and after reasoning steps in what we call the pre-LLM and post-LLM stages. And then we can also check before and after tool calls and modify them if necessary. And then before the final response is given to the user, we can also check and modify that response in the pre-response stage. So for this overview, we're going to demo two components. The first is a post-tool component called silent error review. It does more or less what it says on the tin, and it checks for silent errors. So these are errors that may look correct but are semantically incorrect. So for example, an API may return a valid 200 response, but the response is something like, well, the server's under maintenance. The next component is a pre-tool component called SPARC that validates tool calls before they happen. So for our demo for silent error review, here we have an agent that has some silent errors. So specifically, it's a chatbot. You can ask it the weather, and it'll call this weather service, but it's spotty, so it'll randomly silently fail. So here you'll notice that we can toggle silent review on and off. So we're going to keep it off for now, and then we're going to ask the weather. So what's the weather in SF? And you'll see here that, well, there's an error. It's weather service under maintenance. This is a silent error here. If we try something else, like what's the weather in LA? If you try it, it'll randomly work and randomly not work. Not the best behavior. So we're going to now turn silent error review on, and we're going to try again. Let's try what's the weather in Tokyo. And give it a bit, and we'll see here that this time when we got the silent error, we actually were able to detect that, and then we actually suggested the agent to retry it, and the agent did retry it, and then now we found that we got the correct answer. Here is a code walkthrough for the demo we just saw for a silent error review. Here's the tool that we saw. It will we simulate some silent errors by randomly having it send a message about being under maintenance. You'll notice that the correct answer and the silent error are both strings, so they look very similar. And in order to integrate a silent error, we create a post-tool node. So this is a LangGraph agent. And how we do this is we put this node after the tool node. So if we see here, it's really just kind of 3 lines that we really need. So we have this first line where with the input, where we take the messages from the agent as well as the tool response. Really the messages we needed the user query here. And then the next line here for the reviewer is where we instantiate the silent review component. Here is where you would do some configuration if it's necessary. And then for the third line here is we take the input, and then we take the reviewer and the component, and then we run all of it. And then using that, we get a result. So here, we check the result. If the result says not accomplished, that means it's a silent error and we detected it. So then we're going to say so and go bring this back to the agent. Otherwise, we'll just kind of skip and ignore it. The rest of this code is just kind of showing the very basic LangGraph agent we have here. So we have an agent and we have a tool node, and we put this post tool node right after it. If you want to see what the structure looks like, this is what it looks like. So agent, tool node, and then post tool node, which has our ALTK component, which checks for sound errors. So for our demo for the SPARC component, this time we have a different agent. This one is a chatbot that tries to send emails. It calls an email tool, but it will mangle the tool call to this email tool. So to show what that looks like, it's something like send an email to awesometeam@IBM.com regarding the cool thing. And then once we send it, give it a little bit, well, we'll have this huge error message. Not really sure why. But this time we can activate SPARC. So now the SPARC component is activated, and it's activated as a pre-tool. So it checks before the tool call is actually done. Do the same thing. Send an email. And then now we'll see that what happened here is that SPARC actually intercepted the tool call, noticed that it was invalid, and then gave a reason for it. So it looks like, if we look at it, that parameter was the incorrect type. So the 2 seems like it's supposed to be an array, but the agent decided to give a single string instead of the array. This is a code walkthrough for the demo we just saw, similar to the other one. So here we're going to instantiate the SPARC component. This one will actually show how we do configuration if we need to. So for example, this is defining what the LLM should look like, as well as what the track is. The tool here this is what the email sends. And you'll notice here that we actually intentionally let it be a string or a list of strings in order to give the agent the opportunity to kind of mess that tool call up. And then this is the pre-tool hook. So this is a node that goes before the tool node. This is a LangGraph agent. And in this node here, we define the input into the SPARC component. So what this is looking for messages, the tool spec, and the tool calls. And then once we use that, we'll combine that input with the component that we instantiated, and then it will generate a result. So you can see here that the results will either approve it and then move on and allow the tool call to happen, or it'll reject it and then give an explanation for why and then give that back. So if you want to see a structure of the LangGraph agent itself, we have an agent. It will go to this pre-tool hook, and then if it is not a valid tool call, it will block it and go to final message. If it is a valid tool call, then it'll go to the call and let the call actually happen. Thanks for watching, and if you're interested in trying out the ALTK for your own agents, you can install it using pip install Agent Lifecycle Toolkit, and you can also find the project at our GitHub repo, as well as at altk.ai. Thank you.